Shalom, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. I hope you're having a great time. Welcome to the channel. My name is Shoshana Chaya, and I'm a simple Jewish woman. If you've been following the channel for any length of time, you will remember that during Hanukkah, which was now almost 2 months ago in the month of Kislev, that I interviewed a very good friend of mine, a wonderful woman who lives in Jerusalem in Israel. I wanted to talk to her about her journey or her process to becoming observant because she became observant in her late 40s, I think, or early 50s. And so I was curious about that process and what led to it. And also, she's very active in her community in Israel. And of course, we're going through very, very trying times right now in the Holy Land. We're at war. And I wanted to talk to her about some of the work that she was doing as part of the war effort to support the community and, to support Klal Israel. So for a series of some very bizarre reasons, I did not upload that video. I did edit it. I cut out the clips that I wanted to show you, etc. But I didn't edit it, and I won't go into the reasons why. However, we know that there are no accidents. So this must be the best time for us to upload the video. Now, especially as I've kind of come back to the channel, we're going to restart our learning of the 13 fundamental principles of Jewish faith. And if you remember, and you should probably go back and watch the video introduction I did to the interview, you'll remember that, faith is a big, big topic for us in Judaism anyway. And particularly at this time where it really does feel like, our faith is being tested on every single level. So without further ado, and I will kind of interject from time to time, I've cut the interview, like I said, into clips of Brigitte's answers to the various questions I posed. And, I may or may not add some commentary as we go along. So without further ado, let's go directly to her intro where she tells us a little bit about herself. Okay, here we go.
I lived in the States for 28 years and back to Israel, and originally from France. My parents are French. So at this stage of my life, what I can tell you is I'm a grandmother. I have 3 children. They are all grown up. I have one daughter here in Israel, one son in Paris, and one son in New Jersey. Who I am now, what I've done in the past. I'm a teacher. I recycled, I got, I retrained myself to be a teacher here in Israel. So I teach French, English, guitar, and chess. So that's what I do for making a living. And I'm semi-retired, as well as doing a lot of volunteer work in the community. We call it volunteer, but it's really, I see it more like a being of service to people. So this is what I do, and I live in Jerusalem. Actually, I moved to Jerusalem only a year ago. I was living in a community, in a gated community where we call Ishu, in the Shomron, in Samaria. And I'm so happy to be in Jerusalem, and it has such a different vibes, and I feel it's an honor to live here. I don't take it for granted. Every day, I'm happy to be here. And one of the best things I've done in my life, actually, in addition to having my kids, is to move to Israel. So I'm happy to be here, and I feel very blessed to be here. No, actually, my parents, I was born from, my father is Ashkenaz from Alsace, which is next to Germany, and my mother is from Algiers. So on my father's side, um, we were not religious at all. And on my mother's side, we were observing holidays. The main holidays like Hanukkah, Passover, and Yom Kippur and the New Year's Eve, and that's it. Other than that, I was always involved in Jewish groups from the age of 7. But no, we were not observant in terms of the kashrut, keeping Shabbat, all that. We would go to, if we went to synagogue at all, even on Yom Kippur, we would take the car. So we were not religious, but we were Jewish. I knew I was Jewish.
So I was very curious about where the turning point was for Brigitte. I mean, here she was. She'd had a kind of a typical, fairly typical for European Jews anyway, fairly typical secular upbringing. Yes, they were culturally Jewish, but there was not really religion or spirituality did not play any part at all from, by all accounts in her life growing up. So I was very curious about where the turning point was, what happened. How do you go from, this cosmopolitan French lady who moves to the United States, gets into the high-tech world, very accomplished in her field. How does that lady um, end up in Jerusalem as an observant, very modest, understated, really very understated, because one thing about Brigitte is that she does not flash her accomplishments, uh, she just blends in, but is really a powerhouse of influence in the community and is very intent on changing lives and building community and, building strength and empowering people. Just an amazing, amazing individual, but very understated, your quintessential simple Jewish woman. Um, so how did that happen? Where did that turning point come? Interestingly enough, it didn't come from, meeting a Chabad Rebbetzin and being invited to dinner on Shabbat or being handed Shabbat candles on the street. It came from her daughter, from her young daughter. And I think I might have to go back and listen to the whole conversation again, but I think, her daughter was really very young when and I've met Samantha. Samantha's, of course, now a beautiful, very accomplished, amazing young woman. But, at the time, I think she was maybe about 10 or 11, and she became curious about Jewish observance. And I'm going to let Brigitte tell you the story of how that happened and, where she went from
She
there.
grew up with Hebrew songs. She grew up with um, my being on the board of synagogues. This is how, being a sing-along teacher in addition to working in high tech. So she wanted to explore at the age of 11 what it is to be Jewish, but she wanted to hear it from the Torah, not from just a book or from her mom or from a teacher at the Jewish school. She wanted to have like a conversation. Mash, it was what it was, a conversation with the rabbi. And so we were in Neapolis at the time. So we connected with the Esh rabbis, and she got her answers, and she asked me if we could keep kosher and keep Shabbat. So I talked to the rabbis right away. I said yes. I never said no. And I understood because of the kinds of questions she was asking that I had to get educated. I had to know about my roots. So I started to really learn. I embarked into the learning process with the Esh Rebbetzin, with the Simpsons at the time. And that's how we became from. We actually moved to a religious, to an Eruv, Shomrei Shabbat. And I had to, what I perceived was giving up my pants. That was the most difficult things, actually, not to keep Shabbat, but actually changing my wardrobe was really challenging for me. And my background, I was working in high tech, and I worked in management. And in management, in high tech, a lot of times, this is what we wore, two-piece suits or just the pants and the jackets. That was like my uniform. So giving that up was not was very challenging to me because in terms of at work, how to present myself as this employee manager who is now embarking into this religious journey and changing my wardrobe, right? To the point where now I'm wearing a skirt, which was not very popular at the time. The length of the skirt, at least if you wear skirts, wear them short. No, I had to wear them at a certain length. So I didn't want to explain because I was trying to formulate for myself. I had to figure things out for myself before I could explain it to others. So there was some uneasiness, like being covert about becoming religious at work, for example. I was very covert about it. And I decided to wear a hat instead of, and then I understood that wigs are acceptable. So I thought, oh, wigs are great. So for Halloween, I came to work with a wig. I wanted to see how the employees would react to me. And they thought I looked amazing with a wig. So I just wore a wig as of Monday. So on Friday, it was Halloween. And on Monday, I came to work with my wig, and I just kept my wig.
Yeah, so Halloween provided the perfect subterfuge, for changing the wardrobe and, keeping the wig on. Quite a story. And I was very struck by the idea that the way Brigitte embraced this new life, it embraced the life of Torah and mitzvot, went beyond just humoring her daughter. And it was quite evident to me anyway that she really was heeding a call from another dimension, so to speak. And at this time, Samantha was the bearer of the message, but it was really time. It's the Pintele Yid, that yeah, the call was going out, and she heard and took it on so completely. I was curious about how the transition was because it's one thing to say, okay, we will start keeping kosher and we will start honoring Shabbat. But when you move, you actually make a move to a Jewish community, to a place within a Eruv, and you change your wardrobe, although it's, embarrassing, you feel a little out of place and you need an excuse like Halloween to, cover your hair and so on and so forth. But the fact of the matter is that she did it, and she did it so incredibly wholeheartedly. And I was curious about how that transition was. I mean, it wasn't just that somebody said, okay, this is what you do, this is what you do, and then you do it. I mean, what did she have to go through? Well, let's hear how the story progresses.
And it's also because I'm very curious. I have a very curious mind. So I read a lot. Like, I read a lot. I talked to a lot of people. I went to so many shiurim, and I wanted to hear the experience of other women. I went to observe women not observe, but I wanted to see from women living in different environments. So I went I will take my daughter on Shabbatot. I will take a plane and we will go to Lakewood and we will go to Muncie. And we will go to all kinds of different communities to, to to see how people were living this, their faith and how they were expressing it. And then I found a common denominator. And the common denominator was something that I was already, it was a natural thing to me, which was being of service to people as well, during the Gemilut Hasidim. So I say, oh, okay, so I belong to that. That I can do. I love to do this. So I got on the board of the Jewish Women Entrepreneur in the States. I started my own nonprofit called Mitzvah for Minnesotans in transition seeking vocational assistance. So in 2018, was it in 2008, there was a crash, right? So a lot of people lost their jobs. So people in the community understood that I could help them with seeking, looking for a job, looking for rewriting their resume, preparing them for interviews. And then I started to call on CEOs to understand what would it take to hire all the people who are coming to me. And they will say, hey, what we need is funding. I don't have a budget. If you provide, if somebody gives me the budget, I'll be very happy to help to hire people. So that's when I started to focus is on how to prepare CEOs to pitch their business model to a VC. And then things happen. So, but heavy networking, introducing people, doing what I know how to do. I was working in the Silicon Valley for about 20 years, so I understood what is to network, and that was not difficult to share, and sharing what I knew. Doing a so anyway, so that's what I was doing, and like I said, I co-founded that with the rabbi, so we would give workshops together. And the other thing I did was I put myself on the board of Minnesota and Israel Chamber of Commerce. So I tried to really be in position where I could really help people create jobs, and giving jobs. So from different directions. So the Gemilut Hasidim is like, okay, well, I'm not good at cooking. I don't want to entertain so many people at home. I'm not very good at that. So I'm going to just do what I know how to do, and this is what was needed in 2008 when we became from 2009.
Wow, 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 wow. What a great story, and so many nuggets, so many interesting little lessons in the way that Brigitte pursued or just went about that process of returning to Yiddishkeit, just an incredible story. I love that idea of naming her organization Mitzvah, Minnesotans in Transit Seeking Vocational Assistance. And it takes a particular orientation. It takes a particular mindfulness of what you're about to actually do that. Just and that influences a whole bunch of people. Just I just love the way she saw that she needed to put her Judaism in action and have that building of a relationship with Hashem, that living a life of Torah and mitzvot really be a part of her every day, including wearing a wig, using Halloween as the perfect subterfuge for wearing a wig. Just everything about her story is inspirational in that way, and I can't wait for part two. In the meantime, we're going to wrap it now. So Shabbat Shalom, Chodesh Tov. Thank you for joining us. And I really look forward to part two. And of course, I send all my love and thanks to Brigitte, and we will talk more after Shabbat. So have a great one, everyone. Bye for now.